Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Ferrari F12tdf in multiplayer in the new Slipstream season. This is one of the best cars you can use, at least early on in the season, and I will explain why in the video. So I'm at 4 stars, and I have a rank of 3305 with almost all of the import parts applied and all of the upgrades. So let's get into one of the first races that I actually ever played in the season, because this was the first car that I played with. So in Slipstream mode, throughout the entire race, as long as you are not drifting or 360ing, you have these blue lines behind you. When other people go in these lines, they pick up nitro. So you have to play these Slipstream seasons a bit differently than you might play a normal season. So this season, you want to either pick a car with really good nitro efficiency or really good top speed. Now this car has the really good nitro efficiency. The reason this is important is so that you can stay in nitro a lot of the time when you're in front without worrying about running out of nitro, because what will happen if you run out of nitro in front, you will still have the slipstream thingy behind you, and what will happen is people will catch up and pass you or knock you down. That has happened to me plenty of times, so this car is good if you're in front for staying ahead, because people won't catch up, unless of course they have higher top speed. And that is the other very important attribute this season. As in any season, if you have higher top speed, you can catch up to the people in front of you, and you don't have to worry as much about people catching up to you from behind. But it's especially useful this season for the reason that I mentioned. People not catching up to you, and one thing that you can do in a really fast car that you might not be able to do in a slower one is drift a bit if you're in first place. Now this only really works if you're in a very fast car, like say the Fenner or the Tryon, but what this will do, it will stop people from getting your slipstream from behind you. Now again, this trick should only be used in very fast cars, not recommended for most of them. And that may not even be all that useful if you know the cars behind you are not as fast as you. After the end of the last season, I managed to 5-star my Fenner, so you can expect a video about that in this season coming sometime soon, because this is basically an open season. You can use practically any car you want. So one interesting thing about the Slipstream season is that there is a lot of changing in positions that you might not see in a normal season. People are constantly getting ahead, then falling behind as other ones pass them, and that just happens throughout a lot of the race. And in this race it happened as well, and this was a very close race, and probably one of the closest of the season. However, I wouldn't say it's the closest. But coming up to the finish line here, we flat spin, we got two other guys spinning around us, so I managed to shockwave this guy here and pull out the victory, just barely ahead of those two guys right behind me. Definitely a crazy race, and being able to beat cars like the 918 Spider and the VLF Force made me think that I should definitely use this car a bit more, and I'm glad I did, because I got some great races out of it against some better cars. Like in this race we have a Huera, a LaFerrari, and a couple of VLFs, all of which are in the class above me. Now one thing that I find interesting about B class versus A class is the speed difference in them is not all that much. Most of the top cars in B class and A class go around 235 miles per hour, give or take a bit. So a lot of B-class cars like the F12 and the SCG can compete very well with cars like the VLF and the 918 without too much of a problem. I have also managed to 4-star my SCG, and I am planning to make a video about that as well this season. Now, I'm not sure if it's quite as good as the F12 because, while it's faster, it does not have nearly as good of nitro efficiency, meaning that, well, if you're in first, you cannot stay in nitro as easily, meaning that people will catch up to you and knock you down. However, it's still good, and I'm still planning to make a video about it. So in this race and the next one, we were facing the same 4-star VLF. His name was Skullback, and he was quite a good driver, and I enjoyed racing against him. The second lap of this race went just fine, and we came in first position. He did manage to creep up a bit because of his slightly higher speed, but it was not enough, and we pull out the victory. Now, in this next race, which is also in Scotland, we face him again, as well as a bunch of other cars such as Vulcans, BCs, stuff like that. I actually used the F12, which is a Gold League car, to get to Legend League, completely skipping most of the Platinum League cars, which is kind of interesting. And I even used this car a bit after reaching Legend League, which really shows you how good it is. Now, of course, I could have used cars like the P1 and VLF and stuff like that, which are definitely better than this car, but I wanted to challenge myself and see how far this car could go that most people hadn't really thought of as being all that great. It goes 230 miles per hour. This is nothing really special, and so nobody had really used it much before this season. But I think this season you'll see a lot more people using it because of its really good nitro efficiency. It's also quite a stable car. It doesn't do a bunch of glitches and stuff like some other cars might. And so the overall driving experience is just very good. So here we pass Skullback because he has a bit of a problem back there. I'm not exactly sure what. But because of his better top speed, he then manages to pass us again. Yes, the VLF is faster than this car by 5 miles per hour or so. The VLF and Huayra BC got some big buffs in the recent update, and so they're quite good contenders now. And this VLF passes us again, but then we do some nitro surfing, as going in the Slipstream is called, flat spin, and then pass him, shockwaving up this ramp. And I found that if you go high enough, you can actually jump this hill and get an even greater speed boost in the air there, so that's one thing to keep in mind. We managed to drive the rest of the second lap without him catching up, and again come in first. And we meet another Legions United member, now for a really crazy comeback race. In this race we are facing, now take a deep breath, a W Motors Fenner Super Sport, a Porsche 918 Spyder, a 488 GTB, another F12, a Huayra BC, and a bunch of other cars. Yeah, there was so much variety in this race, it was kind of fun and quite crazy. Unfortunately, we get knocked down here, but here is one good thing about the Slipstream season, and especially since it is 2 laps. It is a lot easier to catch up, I have found, than in a normal season, because the people further back have the advantage over the people in front that they can stay in nitro basically all the time as long as they are fairly close to some other people. That's what we'll see throughout this race. Things looked rather hopeless at this point. I'm 8 out of 8, and I probably would have quit had I not already used my free disconnect for the day. But as we will see, I'm very glad that I've decided not to quit. So here we pass one person, 2 people actually, get into 6th position, and then shockwave toward the turn. Now, one thing about the shockwave season that you may have noticed already is that it is a lot easier to shockwave up ramps, because what you can do is if you're following somebody to a ramp, you can stay in nitro, brake, and then shockwave right before the ramp, and then go up most ramps in shockwave. Of course, if you're in first, you can't do this because you can't nitro surf anybody, and so this is another reason that people's positions in these races are constantly changing. See here, I've made it all the way up to 5th position already, and here I'm kind of surprised that neither I nor this 918 Rector got knocked down there because he landed on me, and then he went up on the wall, but yeah, I'm kind of glad. So it seems like in this season, it's a lot easier to knock down people shockwaving them from behind, because almost always if I touch somebody from behind with shockwave, they get knocked down. Same thing happens to me. If somebody touches me from behind with shockwave, I get knocked down. But you don't really see a lot of 360s, or I haven't. So yes, shockwave is a very, very important tool this season especially. So we are now coming up on the guy in 3rd position, and upon exiting this tunnel, we go right next to him with the perfect nitro and knock him down. That was unintentional, I was just trying to cut the corner a little bit shorter. So we have gone all the way from 8th into 3rd position in this race, and now 2nd, because somebody left the track. So we just have this one guy left, and because I'm able to stay in shockwave a lot of this time, I thought, well, maybe around these final turns I can catch up to him. So I was shockwaving as much as I could, which was fairly a lot because this car has really good nitro efficiency, and I managed to get pretty close. However, he keeps his speed pretty well around these final turns and does not allow me a chance to catch up to him, and so we come in 2nd position, but really not far behind at all after coming back from 8th. So guys, in this season especially, if you get knocked down early on, do not worry, just stay in the race and hopefully you will be able to come back, because the Slipstream can really help you get back some positions if you're behind and you know how to use it. In that race, we beat a rank 4000 Fenner Super Sport, and in this race we are facing another one who is not quite as high ranked, but is still quite fast. My 5-star Fenner can go 269 miles per hour, and ones with slightly lower stars are not too much slower than that. That is a lot faster than the 230 that this car can go. So this is one of the new variants of the San Francisco track that was, I believe, added in the first update to this game. They were only seen in the Lotus season. However, now in this multiplayer season we get them. We also have the 2 new Himalaya track variants. Unfortunately, we don't see any of them in this video, but I have raced on them, and they're not too bad once you get used to them. The guy we knocked down back there is a member of the pro team called Fury, and we have a bit of a close battle nearer to the end of this race, because his car is faster than mine, and I don't really know this track very well, but he told me afterwards that this was actually his first time playing on this track, and he didn't know it well either, so yeah, it was a fun experience for both of us, I can imagine. Unlike a lot of people, I am actually enjoying this multiplayer season quite a lot, as evidenced by me getting to number 1 in my club in terms of rep, which has never happened before. Currently, we are in first position. However, I decide to take this other route, which seemed to not be as fast. There's a bunch of walls and stuff to hit, and yeah, this allowed the guy right behind us, who was the guy I knocked down earlier, to catch up very close, and I knew he was faster, and so I wasn't sure if I would be able to hold him off. However, I knew that I was going to try. We get a little bit further away from him here, but then he starts catching up again because, well, the Slipstream allows him to stay in nitro most of the time because he's right behind me. The Slipstream goes a couple seconds behind each car, in case you guys were wondering about that. It's not indefinite. Here, this guy takes the turn a bit better than me and thus manages to pass me. We both have some issues around here with the traffic cars, but I remembered to get in his shockwave, and so I get a good amount of nitro toward the end of the race. It wasn't quite enough to catch up to him though. And I would like to thank everybody so much and all these other clubs for supporting our mate Khan. He's going through cancer right now, and it really does mean a lot to him to see everybody standing up with him. Again, thank you everybody in these teams, and continue praying for him to get better. Now for our final race in the video, and this one was quite interesting. It is a duel against a Fenner. Yes, a car that is a good 35 or so miles per hour faster than me. But since it is on Rome, which is one of the better tracks for the cars that aren't super high top speed oriented and are instead more biased toward nitro efficiency or acceleration, this goes a little bit closer than what I'd expected. I'd thought that he was just going to pull ahead like crazy and I'd be left in the dust, but because he cannot get up to speed because of all the turns and stuff, we managed to stay almost right behind him for a very long time, which solidified my belief that this car is definitely better, at least in this season, than people give it credit for. Which leads us to my general review about this car. It is definitely better, as I said, than a lot of people give it credit for. If you have this and maybe have not used it in previous seasons, definitely give it a try. You will be pleasantly surprised, and you can even use this in early Legend League, as I am actually in this race, and it's become better in D-Class since the SCG, CN, and Ford GT all got nerfed. So yes, I wonder how this car now performs on a list of the best and worst cars in each class. Near the end of the second lap, this Fenner runs into a problem. I'm not exactly sure what happens, but I'm able to catch up to right behind him just before the finish line. Then I slip past him after doing some slipstreaming and come in first, beating a Fenner with an F12tdf. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!